Hi, Bungani. This is Neil. I got your email last night about some ways of making some simple thermal comfort models, and I kind of want to show you real quick an idea I had. We haven't really done this, but I think it could actually work pretty quickly. It might be a good way for you and John to make some shoebox models. So I downloaded COMFEN 5, which is the new software that LBNL made. It's actually not new. It came out a while ago, but we've always used COMFEN 4. But regardless, you can make these. You may have used it, but you can make these shoebox models of window facades of one elevation that's exposed and a certain depth of that room. And you can add everything from overhangs to glazing performances. Anything you could add in Windows 7 or 6 could be added here. And it runs an Energy Plus single zone model with a single zone with a package unit air conditioning system. I think if we were to double click on one of these, where's the air conditioner? There's scenario. You can't really change much in terms of the HVAC. You can't turn on natural ventilation, which is interesting. But the point being is it'll run a single story model in Energy Plus and give you results of how those compare in EUI, peak demand, and more importantly, it'll actually also give you that Energy Plus file as well as the results that's simulated. And some of the results that are simulated when you run this are the operative temperature values you were looking for. So when you run COMFEN, buried under your or my personal user directory, my name, applications, and data, LBNL COMFEN results, here are all the last scenarios I've simulated. The IDF file is the input file for Energy Plus, so we could even rerun these if we wanted to add something to them. Even simpler, though, is this E plus output file. And this file, as it appears that I've looked at it, is, well, I know it's the 8760 results of COMFEN, and I think COMFEN always gives the same criteria of every simulation. Maybe the net vent turns on more now that I think about it. But likely, we could even paste all this into our other Excel tools and just make graphs that discuss either thermal autonomy or other comfort stories. So if you go down here, there's all these window heat gains, which might be useful actually to plug those into Ed Garod's tool, which needed solar heat gain, I believe. But here is the COMFEN zone mean air temperature. So there's that. And then over, where is it? I saw it last. Here it is, zone operative temperature. So they don't actually output the radiant temperature, but we could actually compute it from those two if we assumed operative is half radiant and half air. Here's the outside air dry bulb that was for that simulation. So those three things alone are all that we need to plug into the adaptive thermal comfort tool I made. I did plug them in last night and it didn't give great results, so I'm not certain it's the best move. And by great results I mean it was in this winter time it was fairly warm, and I wonder if these models have fairly high thermostats. For example, the air temperature stays at like 75 degrees all the time, if not very close to it, which for winter time would be a little higher than a set point, but maybe that's something COMFEN assumed when they programmed it. So it might behoove us to not show adaptive thermal comfort. We could rerun the models, or we could just look at like radiant surface temperatures. Another simple output workbook that we made the other day, you may have seen some of the results come into the Amherst project. I'm not certain if they did put this in there. This is a tool that just you can dump 8760 data into, and whatever variable you're looking at, it will find the peak of that variable and then graph the 12 peak days, one per month, in this little chart. So it's just a way to very quickly, here we're looking at like heating loads in a climate and a density. We can see what is attributed to fresh air and what is attributed, actually I don't know if these are totally correctly labeled because I made this to organize the tool, but essentially we can now start to show one day a month, which might be a better way to show like radiant temperature each month as what's typical So there's all sorts of, the other one we also have, if you haven't seen tools, let's go back, IG standard. I tried to clean up our tools because we had too many about a month ago. So we now have this one file I'm opening is our one flood plot where you can also dump any data, 8760 in, and then based on the maximum minimums of that data, it will create this flood plot of dots. So essentially right now, the scale is relative, so 88 is red and 77 is yellow. I actually think this was the run. Yeah, this was the run of COMFEN last night. So you can actually see in the winter, this is air temperature stayed at like 75 and then jumped to 80 in the evenings. But anyways, COMFEN might work to just make and see, or have a way for you or John or anyone else really to like make these little rooms and run them in COMFEN and then be able to compare results before even graphing everything in Excel, because there are a lot of outputs in here. They even have glare and comfort and other things. Their comfort is like predicted mean vote, things like that, which is fun. Another way to look at it. But this would allow someone to make a bunch of runs and then send them off and say, hey, take all these runs we just made and make me these Excel graphs. I haven't quite figured out where, I guess this database, my comfen.sqlite, is the file we would have to send to each other. So there is no great way, I believe, of sharing files. It's all tied to a database that's on your local machine. Maybe export current project results. No, that's a little different. Anyways, food for thought. I'll talk to you soon.